welcome back to the Cinematic Shuffle, where fate has once again decided what I'm going to review today. Now, if you don't know what the Cinematic Shuffle is, it's a brand new series on my channel where basically I'm taking a look at almost 800 movies that I wrote reviews for on my website years and years ago, and I've never revisited them for this channel or my current rating scale, which is very different than how I used to do things. Basically, I take all those movies, I throw them through a randomizing machine, and it decides what I get to review next. And today, I spun that wheel, and it has decided that I'm going to review American History X. All right. American History X is a 1998 crime drama directed by Tony Kaye and written by David McKenna, and it ultimately follows around a couple of really racist people. White supremacist, neo-Nazi, skinhead brothers, the older of which is played by Edward Norton, and for the last 3 years, he's been in prison for killing 2 black men, and while he's in prison, his younger brother Danny, played by Edward Furlong, has been really looking up to his brother. When Edward Norton's character gets out of prison, he's changed. He's grown hair a little bit, he seems to be against the way of his older lifestyle, and throughout the film you learn a little bit why. You learn a little bit about what happened in prison and what this ultimately means for his younger brother Danny. It's kind of hard to explain what this film is all about. Honestly, it's an experience of a film. You kind of had to see it for yourself because it's really, honestly, a very hard movie to watch. It's kind of in the same ballpark, I would say, as Schindler's List. You know, pretty much everybody has seen Schindler's List. I think anybody who's anybody can watch that movie and say it's an incredibly well-made film, and yet only want to see it once because it's just so heavy. And that's what this film is. It's heavy. And part of the reason why it's so heavy is because of how honest it is when it comes down to racism. I looked it up and there's like at least 200 uses of the F-bomb and 38 uses of the N-word. And the weirdest thing about it is that is definitely the way to go. I'm not complaining about that one bit. There's no other way to make this movie than to fill the thing with truly hateful, spiteful vocabulary. It's weird because you see these famous people just spouting out horrible things, but when they do that, you stop seeing the famous person and you start seeing the character that they're portraying. I can't think of many civil rights kind of films that have made as much of an impact as American History X, because Edward Norton's essentially a character that you can root for, even though he starts off being like pure evil. He gets out of prison, he's a changed man, he's a reformed man, and he's thrown right into the same den of wolves that he came out from. And he has to somehow make it out alive, essentially. And not only himself, but his brother, who's just as evil and hateful and spiteful as he was right when he got thrown into jail. And on top of just like the themes going on in this film and how amazingly honest it is there, the film's also incredibly well made. As far as the editing is concerned, switching back and forth from black and white to the color in present day, for the cinematography, the editing, the music, the performances, the overall sense of tension with the film. It's always rising, it's always getting crazier and crazier with the film. In general, this movie is fantastic, but it is not for the faint of heart. It is not for kids. It is not for many people, to be honest with you. But I think it's also an incredibly important film, especially in today's day and age where people don't trust the news and they get all of their history lessons from like movies, which is not the right spot to go for history lessons. But if you were going to do something like that, this is a good start, because even though it is a movie, it does not shy away from how the world was at a time. And honestly, sometimes still is. But yeah, it's definitely a tough movie. It's hard to watch. But if you have it in you, I suggest and recommend you do just that. You don't have to buy it, but it's definitely a rental. It's It's a very, very high rental. When I go through my scoring spreadsheet, the hardest thing to score for this film was rewatchability. It is a phenomenal film. I just don't know how rewatchable it is because of how hard it is to watch. And if you can't rewatch it all the time, you also don't feel an impulse to buy it, to own it in any kind of way, to throw it into a wish list. It's just one of those movies. But I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt because it is well worth the watch and well worth the rewatch because it might teach you a thing or two depending on, I guess, who you are. Looking at my final score for American History X, I rated this thing an A+ letter grade, 97%. So 97 out of 100 possible stars, meaning that this film is nearly flawless. I think the only reason why it isn't 100% perfect is because you're going to question if you ever want to see it again. Is it important? Yes. Is it amazingly well made? Yes, but it's so heavy that, yeah, I could just see people only wanting to see it once and only once. So it's just one of those types of movies. If you haven't seen it, be forewarned. But if you have, I would like to hear your thoughts about it. Do you think that this film is phenomenal? Do you think it's a movie that you wouldn't mind rewatching over and over again? I would like to know in the comments section down below. And as for YouTube, you know what to do. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell to be notified when I come out with my next film on this cinematic shuffle endeavor. And until then, peace out.